everybody. Thank you for coming today. My name is Clay Eals. I'm the Executive Director of the Southwest Seattle Historical Society, and my part of this is going to be very brief. I'm going to cover three things, and then you're going to get to our two main speakers. This is just such a wonderful gathering, and I appreciate you all being here, and you really are in for a treat today. I wanted to explain my tie. This is one of my favorite ties, but I don't get to wear it very often because it's not very serious. It's the Peanuts gang reading a bunch of newspapers. And I thought it would be apropos for today because, not only because we've had wonderful media coverage of this event, which has brought a number of you here, but also because it's about telling stories. And that's what we are all about at the Historical Society, is eliciting, bringing out, preserving, and sharing with other people the stories of this community. And we are rich with stories, and that is what this event is all about today. And the second thing I wanted to mention was kind of a funny thing I noticed in the Seattle Times on Friday. I don't know if any of you saw this in the entertainment section. We had a listing for this event, and you know the name of this event as If These Walls Could Talk, the centennial of His Honor's home. Well, they had listed it as If These Walks Could Talk. And I thought, that's a fortunate typo. I don't know if it was me, you know, the K and the L are close on the keyboard. I don't know if it was me when I sent it in to the Times, or if they did it themselves. But, you know, we are on a walk. We are on a journey. This day is going to be over soon enough, and we'll be off doing something else. But what you're doing here today is very important. We are creating memories. You may think we are celebrating history, and we are, but we are also making history. This is a part of the walk, part of the journey of our lives. And just think, there will be people 100 years from now who would just love to know what we're doing here today, what you all are here doing today. And instead of, you know, being on some little plastic device looking at a tiny screen, you are here engaging in the original social media, which is face-to-face. And the third thing I want to do is leave you with one word. And you know, the longer that I've been with this organization, and the older I get, the more I realize that what the Historical Society is all about, and what really a lot of our life is about, is one word, and that's gratitude. And we have so much to be grateful for, and we have what has come before us. We literally and figuratively stand on the shoulders of giants in this community and in this world, and somebody else whom we don't even know created this home, created this neighborhood, created this community of West Seattle before us, and we are doing things for people long into the future that they won't really know us, but they will have a lot to be grateful for as well. That's why the Historical Society is such a vital organization in this area, and it is growing and becoming even more vital, because what it does is it allows us to understand and appreciate and pass on the gratitude that we all have for what has come before and what we are going to leave others. So I just want you to have that word in mind as you tour this home, and as you hear our wonderful program today, and as you go off in the days ahead thinking about your connection to West Seattle and all of the great things that you have chosen to be connected to West Seattle because of. And so I welcome you. Before we get to our speakers, I want you to know we have a committee that has put this event together. A lot of people have been involved, and I'm just going to stop right now and have you get some exercise by giving a round of applause to Greg and Sharon for opening their house today. This is a tremendous demonstration of not only generosity but initiative. This was Greg and Sharon's idea, and we are so thrilled that this is happening because of what they proposed. But we have a committee, and our committee members are around here. Where is Bethany? Can you raise your hand? And Carolyn, can you raise your hand? And Greg, this event would not have happened without them. a lot of people contributing their time to make this happen. And part of being co-chairs of this, and they didn't know this until today, is that they are going to introduce our speakers, Carolyn and Bethany. And I know they are thrilled to do so as well. Look at the smile on Bethany's face. Carolyn, could you please come up here and introduce our first speaker for us today? This is Carolyn Smith.
Welcome, everybody. I just want to start saying I think it's very important to celebrate historic events in our with the community, because they really let us take a chance to pause and see where our community and society has headed in this centennial, I guess, of this house, and imagining what an admiral area looked like back then and what this house did. So I just want to also thank Greg and Sharon for opening up their house and letting us celebrate with them. But here's Greg today.
And I think that Carolyn has, maybe her first visit here, she was a babe in arms. She's known us in this house as long as she's been on this earth. So let me also welcome you to our home on behalf of Sharon, who as at many events, stands at the furthest possible spot from where I'm speaking. I don't quite know what that means, but I find that to be true. We love this house. It's been the place where we've raised our kids, and we have so many different memories of it. And so we wanted to share that and celebrate that when the house turned 100. And it just seemed natural to do it by making people write checks as they walked in, because that's what we're together in politics. But also to do it on behalf of the Southwest Seattle Historical Society. They've done such a great job of helping to preserve the stories of the neighborhood that we love. So I'm going to tell you just a couple of stories about why we live in this house, how we got here, and maybe a couple of things about what we've done to the place. Because I know that as we were doing those things, we kept wondering, why did they do that? Why did they use that wallpaper instead of something that looked okay? So we want to leave some record for posterity, and then maybe answer a couple of questions if there's time. But Sharon and I met in politics. Her father was an elected official in Eastern Washington. He was a county assessor, also known as the meanest man in town. And so politics has been part of our life. And the reason that we live in this house is politics. We lived in a beautiful 1911 Cape Cod house down just above Fontley Hills on 38th, 2 doors up from the water tower on 38th and Barton. And there was a redistricting that occurred in 1986 where the politicians drew the lines for the districts for the county council. And I was looking at running for the county council. And it turned out that if you had a view, you're more likely to be a Republican, and so you were put in the Federal Way district. And if you didn't have a view, you were more likely to be a Democrat, so you were in the West Seattle district. And we had a little bit of a view. And literally we were 100 yards from the district boundary, and we found ourselves in the Federal Way County Council district. Now, since I'm neither a Federal Way person nor a Republican, that didn't make a whole lot of sense. So in 1986, determined to run for the county council in 87, we made the decision that we would move our family to a place where they couldn't redistrict us out of the West Seattle district. So we started shopping for a home. We came to this house a couple of times. And the first time we came, we left very quickly. Because this house, all of the front area of the house and the stairs were covered with this dark, rust-colored shag carpet. And maybe there was a time and a place for dark, rust-colored shag carpet, but it had long passed. And we didn't know how old the carpet was, we didn't know what was living in the carpet, and it sucked all of the light out of the house. So it was a very dark place. And then you came back here, and the kitchen was very different then. There's a beam up above, it goes through the refrigerator there, and there was a wall there. And behind it was a pantry, and the kitchen was in between this wall and where that wall was. An addition had been put onto the house, and that addition is now our eating area. That addition had a hot tub. So we had a hot tub in our kitchen. That addition was all glass, single pane glass, and the roof rolled back. So during the summer it was very nice. You could be in the hot tub and have open air. During the winter you could watch the heat leave the house. And if the wind was just right and it was snowing, we'd get snowflakes. And so that was somewhat jarring for us when we walked into this kind of neat, although dark, craftsman, and then we found ourselves in this sort of out-of-body experience in the back. But we came back a second time and it grew on us a little bit. We came back maybe a third time and it grew on us a little bit more. And we decided that this was a place that we could make our home. We purchased it and we moved in Thanksgiving weekend of 1986, ahead of that 1987 election. And we immediately took out as much of that rust-colored carpet as we possibly could. And there were things living in it. I won't get into more detail on that. But we started to make it our own. We found that every room in the house had wallpaper, some of it really, really awful, and most of it in layers. And so we literally steamed through the history of the house, the different layers of wallpaper. The front bedroom, which I hope you get a chance to see, felt very much like a bordello. The rust-colored shag carpet, flocked wallpaper, a plastic orange chandelier, and very heavy box frame around the windows with very heavy blackout drapes. So we worked on that and hopefully changed the feel of it. The bathroom here had black, yellow, and green tile in it, which I loved, but which had been damaged pretty badly in a couple of earthquakes and by some of the remodels. So that's why it looks very different now. But in addition to that black, green, and yellow tile, there was more flocked black and gold wallpaper, black toilet and fixtures, and sort of a gold lame framed medicine cabinet. And this was nice. I've seen the wallpaper elsewhere. It was a used car dealership, actually. And the odd thing was, with the black toilet, you cannot actually tell if you fully flushed. So we changed that. And the house was large enough that we could tackle one room a year and not be too put out because it has adequate space for a family of our size. The house in the 1960s had been turned into a nursing home. The permitting history shows that there was a fire escape put off the back, and that's why in the bedroom upstairs there's a door and a little widow's walk. That door was put in for the fire escape. When we moved here, the door to the basement was metal fire door, and all of the framing around it was metal. And there was a metal fire door at the top of the stairs going upstairs, again with metal framing around it. As we were taking down wallpaper, we found that there had been an exit sign above the bedroom on this end of the house, which has led to the fire escape. Our bedroom probably was where most of the residents lived. It's large enough that I'm thinking they probably had 5 or 6 cots or twin beds for residents. The stairway, the ends of the treads had been cut off by a circular saw so that nobody would get poked by the end of the tread sticking out into the hallway. You could see the burn marks on the wood. There were just lots of little things that over time we discovered and thought about and figured out why things were the way they were. This was a bedroom. The door was here behind this bookcase, and there was a wall separating it from the kitchen. It had been converted to a family room before we moved in, but very different than it is today. The door was still there. The wall continued to about there. There was a wood stove and a small entrance there. There was cedar stripping. The walls were all cedar strips, diagonal, not level. But it was a nice family room, and there was a lot of Z-brick against this wall and some shelving. Every room has some history for us, some memory, and it's been a very special place for us for the last 26 years. So we're very pleased to share it with you. There have been some kind of cool events here. We've had fundraisers over time for causes and also for my campaigns. We have had some distinguished visitors. Vice President Al Gore visited here at one time. He was vacationing in the San Juans, coming back, and he and Tipper were going to fly out, and they came by because we were having a gathering very similar to this. Former Mayor Rice has been in this home many times, as well as many other elected officials and community leaders. Each one of you is an honored guest today. So thank you. As I said, after our next speaker, maybe we could take a few questions, but I'm looking forward to being able to spend a little bit of time with you as we walk through the house. And you've got any questions, please let either Sharon or I know, or any of the volunteers, because they've done their homework as well. Clay, I thank you for the research that you and Bethany and Carolyn have done, the organizational work that you've done. One of the coolest things that the society did was they researched the history of the house, and they found out who the first family here was. They found out that in the 60s, the family that lived here when it was a nursing home and ran the nursing home, the son was arrested for setting numerous fires through West Seattle. Now, 15 years ago, a fellow knocked on our door and said, "Hi, I lived here when it was a nursing home." And we don't know that they had any other kids, so I think it speaks to the rehabilitation of at least one former arsonist. So again, thank you for being here. Enjoy your time, and happy birthday.